In November 1971, a quiet mansion in Westfield, New Jersey suddenly went silent. Neighbors noticed something strange. The lights inside the massive house were still on, but no one had seen the family for weeks. Mail piled up. The car was gone. And the once lively home seemed completely abandoned. What nobody knew at the time was that inside that mansion was one of the most horrifying crime scenes in American history. 5 members of the same family had been murdered, and the killer had disappeared without a trace. The man responsible was the father of the house. His name was John List. At first glance, John List looked like the perfect family man. He was a quiet, polite accountant who attended church every Sunday. Friends described him as calm, intelligent, and deeply religious. He lived with his wife Helen, their 3 children, Patricia, Frederick, and John Jr., and his elderly mother. The family lived in a huge 19-room mansion called Breeze Knoll. From the outside, it looked like a perfect life. But behind the walls of that house, John List was hiding a terrifying secret. He had lost his job months earlier. He never told his family. Every morning, he pretended to go to work, putting on his suit and leaving the house. But instead of going to an office, he spent his days sitting at train stations or applying for jobs that never came. Bills began piling up. The family was drowning in debt, and John List believed his entire world was collapsing. He became convinced that his family would soon discover the truth, that he had failed them. Instead of asking for help, he made a decision that would shock the entire country. On November 9, 1971, John List began carrying out a carefully planned murder. That morning, he started with his wife Helen. While she was in the house, he shot her in the back of the head. Then he turned his attention to his elderly mother. She lived in the upstairs apartment of the mansion. List walked upstairs with a gun and shot her as well. Next came his children. He waited patiently for them to come home from school. One by one, they entered the house. One by one, he murdered them. By the end of the day, 5 members of the List family were dead. His wife, his mother, and all 3 of his children. But what he did next shocked investigators even more. Instead of panicking or fleeing immediately, John List calmly began cleaning the house. He arranged the bodies carefully in the ballroom of the mansion. Then he wrote a long letter to his pastor. In the letter, he tried to justify his actions. He claimed he believed his family would go to heaven if they died before learning about their financial problems. He believed he was saving them from shame. After finishing the letter, List turned on every light in the house. He turned the radio to a religious station. Then he calmly walked out the front door and disappeared. Weeks passed before anyone discovered the crime. Neighbors finally called police after noticing the family had not been seen for a long time. When investigators entered the house, they discovered a scene that shocked them. The bodies had been lying there for nearly a month. But the killer was gone. John List had vanished. Police launched a massive manhunt. But there was a problem. This was long before modern surveillance, internet records, or advanced tracking technology. List had planned his escape carefully. He changed his identity. He moved to another state. And he started an entirely new life. For the next 18 years, John List lived quietly under a fake name. He remarried. He worked as an accountant again. And none of the people around him had any idea they were living next to one of America's most wanted killers. Then in 1989, something unexpected happened. A television show called America's Most Wanted decided to feature the case. The show recreated what John List might look like after nearly 2 decades. Millions of viewers watched the broadcast. One viewer noticed something chilling. The man on television looked exactly like her neighbor. She contacted the authorities. Police began investigating the tip. Soon they confirmed the unbelievable truth. The quiet man living under a different name was actually John List. 18 years after murdering his family, he had finally been found. Police arrested him shortly afterward. During questioning, List admitted everything. His explanation shocked investigators. He claimed he believed his actions were justified by his religious beliefs. But the jury didn't accept that argument. John List was convicted of 5 counts of murder. He was sentenced to life in prison. The man who thought he had committed the perfect crime had spent nearly 2 decades hiding in plain sight. But eventually, the truth caught up with him. John List died in prison in 2008, and the mansion where the murders happened was later destroyed. The story remains one of the most chilling examples of how a man who appeared completely ordinary could hide such a dark and terrifying secret